Hello and welcome everybody to another episode of Small Talk with Shibby, my LCS post-game interview series. I am joined by the wonderful FlyQuest Spica. Spica, how are you?
Not bad. Could be better. Could be better.
Could be better. Definitely not the start that you guys wanted. I do want to talk a little bit more and go back into kind of the roster move that you guys made this offseason, adding a big piece like Vulcan. What does a player like him add to your roster that maybe you're potentially missing in the last iteration? Like, what does Vulcan add in terms of skill level, leadership, communication? Like, how does he work within the FlyQuest system?
I think the addition of Vulcan has been pretty good for our team. At least I feel like he filled a lot of the holes that we were missing last split. I think last split we're missing a bit of like the shot caller or like experience in the support role, right? I think Ayla and both Winsome were pretty new, so they were just trying to learn, gather as much information as I can. So we're very lacking in that, having a voice in the support role, understanding like what the support wants to do and communicating. So I think he's brought a lot of experience, and I think he and Prince is playing. I mean, we were 0-2, but at least before LCS, we were doing really well in scrims. We were winning a lot. So I would say he's been a great addition to our team, and as well as like I think culturally he just fits us a lot better.
I mean, even despite the 0-2 start, I think a lot of teams, even the analysts, like the LCS people, they had your team very highly ranked, and that's not off of anything, right? Could be Scrimbucks, whatever. Like a lot of teams believe you are, if not the number one, number two team in the league. And obviously that start doesn't reflect that. It's okay though. I do want to talk more about your communication structure because from my knowledge and from my understanding, back in some rosters that you were previously a part of, you have been a big voice as a jungler. So when you say Vulcan adds kind of a communication level from the support role, is that more taking the load off of you, or is it more somebody to say like, hey, I have this person where he can provide input from a bot lane perspective, from a support perspective, where we can set up objectives, vision, barons. Like, how does that shot calling structure work? Because typically, at least from my knowledge, you've been a very big voice.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing is that Vulcan gives very decisive calls. I think when he knows that he can get advantage, he just said, guys, just come no matter what, we will win the game, and he will make a lot of calls in mid game as well. While I'm still doing a good amount of early game calls, I think it's not just me. Trying to make a plan. I think it's like him as well. So at least it's taking some load off of me, and I could just focus on what I want to do next.
I do want to talk about maybe the offseason a little bit. Obviously, you only made one roster change, which doesn't really require a lot of time for you guys to gel as much. Yeah. But with that being said, what have you guys been able to really work on during the offseason as a team? Not just like maybe gameplay wise, but like mentality, your approach to the game. Like, has anything, what have you been able to work on, and has anything changed necessarily from last split?
I mean, I think last split our scrims were really, really bad. It just wasn't productive, to be honest. I didn't feel like we were improving as a team or individually speaking. Like, we didn't really focus on the team aspect, right? We're focusing a lot on like what individuals can do and how they could play better. But I think this split, we're talking a lot more of how we should play as a team, and everybody's more on the same idea of how we play the game, right? So I would say in terms of like scrim results and how we approach practice, I feel like it's been pretty productive. Hopefully we could show that soon.
Would you say maybe that was one of the reasons as to why you guys maybe started at a very high level in spring split, and I wouldn't say deteriorated, but kind of just everybody else started catching up? Was it you guys weren't making the progress necessary in spring split?
I mean, I would say spring split, we went to Korea for bootcamp, right? We bootcamp for like 3 or 4 weeks. So I think after the bootcamp, our individual skill was just very, very high. We mostly just won games through individual skill and just laning in general. So it didn't really felt while we still had team play, it didn't feel like team play was what propelled us to getting first place, right? And once I would say we deteriorated a little bit, but I think it's more like stagnating. It didn't feel like I think we were just stuck in the same place, and then I think we got frustrated that we're in the same place, and then we started not playing the game in an objective way, and we let our emotions play the game for us. So we just started getting a lot worse. But I think this split after addition of Vulcan, even though we have a worse split or worse start than last split, honestly, I had way more hope for how good we can be compared to the last split. Like even even if we go 0-3, 0-4, 0-5, I have way more hope because I think our ceilings are very, very high.
Yeah, I do want to talk about now your additions with Vicla and Prince. You have now played with them for a split. What is it like playing with Vicla in regards to like making your job as a jungle easier or stuff like that? Because you've played with legendary players like Bjergsen. What does Vicla kind of bring to the table that enables you maybe as a jungler or makes your job easier? How has that kind of mid jungle synergy been going?
I mean, I think Vicla is very different for all the mid laners I play with. I've only really played with experienced mid laners. I played with Bjergsen when I was a rookie. I played with PoE. After that, I played with Maple and Kaido. Kaido was a rookie, but for majority of my career, I played with experienced mid laners. So they have a very concrete way of how they approach the game. They're way more like macro focused, trying to play the map, and they shot call a lot. But I think Vicla, he is more focused on his laning, his mechanics. So I think, especially in Spring Split, a lot of times it was like me trying to make calls and moving around the map. I think the dynamic is still the same, but I think in terms of like mechanically speaking, laning speaking, he is very good.
Also, playing with Impact now, I think I would say he's probably every jungler's dream as a top laner, right? It's a solid top laner, a rock in the top lane. Yeah. Is he somebody that you've kind of always wanted to play with, right? Obviously, Spring Split, you got the chance to. Is he everything that a jungler wants in a top lane?
I mean, honestly, Impact is very different from all the top laners I've played with because
exactly.
Traditionally, I've only played with like strong side. I mean, I wouldn't call. I think Impact is very good at weak side, but he's also like good at strong side. But traditionally, I've only been playing with top laners. Like Broken Blade, Huni. They're known for being super aggressive top lane. Focus on laning, trying to snowball top, and Impact's just just like you said, just like a rock in the top lane, right? So it's been different. I'm learning a lot from him in terms of how to play the map, how to play mid game in general. So it's been great, and yeah, I mean, I think I've also been wanting to play with him for a long time.
Talk to me more about kind of the jungle meta right now. It seems like even with Riot kind of implementing a lot of these patches, champions like Wukong, Avai, these kind of champions are very strong. Obviously, we have Kindred now kind of revolving into the meta. You're somebody that is, I wouldn't say known or synonymous, but you have brought out some very interesting picks in the past with like the Kane and stuff like that. Yeah. Do you think the current jungle meta is a bit more open, or do you think it's still a little bit stagnant and you kind of just have to pick what's strong at the moment?
I mean, I think the jungle meta, it's a bit open, but there's also like a very set of what what is considered meta in the strongest, right? I think there's definitely a lot of champs that you can play, but in like the highest competition, people have only been playing like Wukong, Vi, some Maokai, Sejuani, champs like that. Like champs like Kha'Zix or Kindred is way more niche in terms of like presence and how much you're picked. I think the jungle meta has been pretty stale. And I think just the whole meta in general is just very, very stale. It's just, you play weak side top, facilitating jungle, mid lane, you just push and you just play for 80 carry, right? Try to make space. So hopefully, I think that'll change soon. Personally, I'm not a big fan of that. I like to get creative, right? I like to think, how to pick different things. I think that honestly makes the game more fun to play. It makes the game more fun for the viewers to watch as well. People don't want to see the same, 2-3 matchups every single game. It just gets boring. So hopefully, there's a switch up. So maybe I'll get creative and pull something, weird or special out.
And obviously, we're kind of coming up on the time here. I do want to ask my final question. What fundamentally has kind of changed that you can kind of, tell to the FlyQuest fans like, hey, I know we didn't get the result that we wanted last split. What can you tell the people, the individuals that are following you guys? Like, hey, I guarantee, this is the reason why we'll make Worlds, because I firmly believe you guys will.
Yeah. I mean, personally, I think, yeah, I mean, I'm not really sure because our scrim results were going super, super well. I think maybe partially is due to overconfidence. When you win a lot of scrims, right? You're like, oh yeah, you're the fucking shit. You're like, when your champion spawns, you just have more. You just deal more damage. You don't die no matter what. So I think we're gonna have to go back as a team and figure what is the problem. Maybe just take it step by step. Maybe have a bit of more urgency in game. Communicate more and just don't play like we're already won the game before we start. I think that's really important. Thankfully, I think this the issue comes up early because there's a lot of teams where they were doing really well. I mean, honestly, like us last split, right? We were doing super super well. We're 9-1, or I think 8-1. We were 9-1 at one point.
Yeah.
To start this play, and then we faltered. So I think it's better to have these problems early on than when it approaches playoffs. Oh shit, we've just been coasting off of how good we are, and now we're not facing these issues. So I wouldn't say it's all negatives, and we're gonna take it seriously, and hopefully, I mean, we still have a game to play tomorrow, so hopefully we can bounce back as fast as we can, and get back to work.
I appreciate it so much, Spica, taking time out of your busy schedule. Thank you so much once again.
Thank you so much for having me.